Today's first segment is highlighting just a handful of the many incredible ways Roanoke shows off our local artists and their works, thanks to Roanoke City's Arts and Culture Coordinator, Doug Jackson. Hi, Doug. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, Liz. Thanks for having me.
Man, we're so glad to have you. Just to start off on a personal note, Doug, you and I have been friends for a number of years now, and I'm such a great admirer of yours and all the work that you do. He launched Book City Roanoke a few years ago. What year was that? Do you remember?
2017.
Already. Okay. So that's actually something that he's done to highlight local authors and writers, events, everything that sort of my industry really participates in locally. I'm also the director of the Roanoke Regional Writers Conference, and Book City Roanoke has been a partner for a couple of years now, thanks to Doug's passion for helping local writers connect and learn more about each other and hone their craft. So thanks, of course, for doing that for our writers and authors.
Oh, it's a real joy. I just think we have a literary community.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah. It's something to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, listeners, you might remember the excellent profile of Doug in last year's Arts and Culture issue, thanks to writer and editorial assistant Sarah Rydell. Doug, well, I love getting to know you on a personal level, how you came into your role within the city. Let's talk about your role as the City of Roanoke's Arts and Culture Coordinator. What does that mean? What does that role do?
Yeah, so the primary thing the role entails is staffing the Roanoke Arts Commission. And that is 15 very committed, volunteer-appointed citizens who care about arts and culture in the community. And we've got a beautiful commission. I was on it for 11 years, I guess, and then termed off. And it's just a lot of fun to work with them. So nothing is kind of a unilateral decision. In fact, I don't even make most of the decisions. Everything has a selection panel, and the commission weighs in, and they have opinions, and I love them.
Yeah, a bunch of artists with opinions. Yeah, that's probably gets a little hectic sometimes, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Good, lively discussion, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So for you personally, why are you so passionate about helping authors display their works throughout our region?
Yeah, so I really feel that, what we care about matters. So if you're passionate about quilting, there's a way to align that passion with making the neighborhood or the community a better place.
Yeah.
And, my full-time job is with the state in community development. And so I really am a community development guy, even above and beyond being an arts guy or a literary guy. That's just the lens I bring to everything. And that said, it's always been a part of my life. The arts have always been part of how I think about it. So we see this as the Arts Commission. We see our goal is supporting artists, helping artists find their place in the community. And really, if we think of arts and culture as helping everyone belong to the community. And if we belong to this place and we belong to each other, I'm convinced that we can do anything.
Yeah, that should be your byline right there.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, as a side note, are you an artist yourself?
I do. I fiddle around with things. Of course, I write.
Yeah.
I'm a fiction guy. I love reading and analyzing fiction. I love writing fiction. I also do these little paper cuts. So that's a visual thing.
Right.
This past weekend, I sewed upholstery for my mom and pillows. So
Okay.
I like to sew
Cool.
as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, there's something for everybody, certainly. And it's great to know you aren't alone. I bet you might get some people reaching out to you about quilt art later.
Oh, I hope they do.
Yeah.
I think it's underrepresented.
Yeah. So Ashley Wilson Fellers, she showcased a really incredible feature with some insight into the state of the art. That was her feature, covering some of the different artists and works that can be found in the area, and have also maybe developed programs thanks with your help. And so I was curious about programs or initiatives that have been particularly exciting or successful this year.
Yeah, the Arts Commission's been around since 1983, and typically most of the funding we do has been to arts and cultural organizations. And those are independent, private organizations that are run by their own boards. We work with them to be strong, and we give them some resources for programming for the citizens of Roanoke. But until this past year, we had never given resources directly to artists unless it was for, say, a call that we put out nationally that was for a sculpture or for a work of art, a work of public art. And this is a very different way of saying, artists, what are your ideas? Use your creativity and your creative process and tell us how we can make the community a more just, healthier place for everyone. And we've been really, really happy with it. In fact, we're making it part of, and we pretty much intended this. We called it the Year of the Artist, but it was just a way for us to turn a corner and do things in a new way. So we're going to continue to fund artists for projects. We're going to hire artists, as we did this year, to be artist in residence, and that means kind of like sallying up to the city and the different departments and commissions and committees, and just aligning the creative process. So I'm also convinced that we continue to have the same people around the table, and we have the same kind of outcomes. In some ways, we're not even imagining what's possible because we're not inviting enough people into the conversation. Artists are one way to do that. We really, the city has a comprehensive plan, and when I applied for this job, it was completely because interwoven equity was an aspect of it. And we had been doing the whole book series, the kind of anti-racism book series. This is all a lot of personal learning for me, in how to be a better citizen, a better advocate, a better ally, and how to create a better community. And as we broaden the perspectives around the table, I'm convinced, too, that we're going to have things that we've never thought about. And we're going to see ourselves as a community in ways that we've never thought about before. So inviting artists who are kind of visible, typically, inviting artists into the room and helping them be a direct liaison with residents. Our government is us, and this is another way of kind of demonstrating that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's when I think about the editorial calendar for next year, I reach out to all the writers and I ask, you guys are in the community. You guys see, I don't leave my Wasina bubble. I'm full guilty of that, so it's important for me to see their perspectives and their, interests too, because it's something that they're passionate about. And every year they come back with all these incredible ideas. And that's what it sounds similar to that. You're really trying to broach the people that you're working with, but seeing what they're seeing in their communities and bubbles. Like, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And, it's easy for any decision-making body, say it's a city council or say it's a board of an organization. It's easy to kind of create a culture. And not that it's easy to create a culture. Sometimes it creates around us unintentionally, and it's a hard thing to change. Yeah. But a culture forms, and we can have groupthink. So we've always got to be saying, okay, what voices are we not listening to? Who's not actively engaged? Whose gifts are out there and skills and talents are out there, ready to make the community a better place, but they don't yet feel invited in.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That actually, so Kyan Reeves did a feature on equity in our programs, and so found both programs that are found and that need improving or have improved. So it's a really nice balance. It's not we want to focus on the positive of all the great things that are happening in our region. And so we're talking about how the city engages with diverse cultural communities, and I'm curious about how you're making sure to do that to ensure that their voices are represented in the local art scene.
Oh yeah, it's a great question. I really appreciated her article too. I thought it was terrific. Yeah, the Arts Commission, like I said, that interwoven equity we saw as a mandate. So when council approved that in 2020, we said immediately, okay, how are we going to do things in a better way? How are we going to address urban renewal? How are we going to, because we really do have to address it and the history and the longstanding impacts of it in order to move forward.
Right, because artists on that side aren't going to come to you if you're not paying attention to them or you're not making the effort, right?
Oh, right. And, that representation matters. So,
Absolutely.
In the Art Matters grants, 20% of the artists we funded I guess overall, 20% were Black. More than half were women. If we look at the Arts Commission, we've got a third Black representatives on the Arts Commission. We've got a Latina. We've got we've got 20% LGBTQ+. We really do think that representation matters.
Mindfulness is important here. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And we've got to be able to talk about it. So we've done, and we actually hosted this along with some of our partners, the Taubman Museum of Art, United Way. We hosted cultural equity training. It was kind of a 3-part series where we asked board members and organizations to come. And that was in 2019 or 2020, I think. So this has been kind of an long-standing path we've been on. For a long time, we've asked about audience. Are the organizations that we fund, are they serving the entire community? And it's a big push point for us. And of course, a lot of times organizations will say, well, we're thin-staffed, we can't count. Well, no, you can count. We can find ways. You can tell us who's on your board, who you are serving. And there was a lot of pushback for a number of years and even measuring in some of those ways.
That's pretty difficult. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah, you got to start
Yeah.
somewhere. And we know if we don't measure, if we don't count, if we don't say it out loud, we will never improve.
Right.
So there have been some hurdles to get over that way, but we're having that conversation. We're continuing to press and continuing to push. And it's important to me, or to all of us on the commission. And it's why I'm doing the work.
Right. Out of curiosity, for those maybe that feel marginalized or they want a voice, how do they do that? Are they reaching directly out to you? I mean, I know you'll take the DMs, sure, but
yeah. So we've got lots of touch points. The beauty of the Artist in Residence program and the Year of the Artist, we have about 400 artists who have signed up to be part of it, who are kind of who are
right
actively,
here in our area. That's amazing.
Yeah, who are actively kind of reaching out to be part of it. And so that's a whole nother level above our kind of 1,400 people who like get the newsletter and such. So those people we also see kind of as ambassadors. So we had 84 artists under contract last year.
Wow.
That's a lot of contracts
That's a
to write.
lot of contracts.
By the way. But we thought that was important in kind of so that we have them in the system and we can hire them to do more work, but also that they know what it feels like to participate in a formal contract with an entity like a city government. So now that we have that relationship and we funded them, they are our number one ambassadors, ears on the ground, kind of advocates, and saying, okay, hey, oh, you said you've got an idea. Well, look, I just got $3,000 to put on this ballet. Here's what you can do. So we really do think the way to do this is through authenticity and many, many layers. We're trying to create, this is a community. This is community building. I might be one person on the team, but if it relied on me, there would be a huge bottleneck because I'm usually trying to figure out my email.
So nobody's going to Venmo you money.
I do know how to Venmo. I do know how to Venmo. Yeah. So we are always looking for those additional ways to communicate. Everything really is about getting out there. Our next project is Arts Connect Neighbors. So we're going to be hiring artists and arts organizations to be in neighborhoods.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. If you don't mind, sorry, we're getting totally off track, which I knew was going to happen. But I want to talk about this because we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and it's so exciting to what you're doing. Just go ahead, dive right in.
Yeah. We're continually looking at next steps, and we're kind of committed to always looking to our partners at the National Endowment for the Arts for resources to help us take that next step. And we got a grant, a $75,000 grant from the NEA, and the city matched it with $75,000. And the idea is that we're going to create a catalog that shows all the ways that arts and culture can help make your neighborhood a better place. And then we're going to pay artists and arts organizations to come up with strategies or engagements. Like, say you're a comedian, you might say, okay, I can do an improvisation workshop. And I'm going to do an 1.5-hour workshop in your neighborhood, and we'll get people together. We're going to have a lot of fun while we do it. And we're going to learn how to be in the space together and respond to each other and listen to each other and have a lot of fun doing it, just like you see on television. And that has a lot of potential for helping
tons
us.
Of potential.
Yeah. So that's just like one minute example. And we could think about porch concerts or block parties and hiring a caricaturist to do portraits of your neighbors from a block party. All of these things are very simple, but we can see immediately how they can help connect us and help us reboot after the pandemic. I told somebody the other day, when I'm walking down the street and I see somebody coming on the sidewalk, I cross the street still.
Out of habit, right? With the 2 or 3 years we've had to build that habit, I do the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I don't have to do that anymore.
And so we're eliminating I've got to get out of that habit. And I'm an introvert. So in some ways that feels good to me.
Yeah, I hear
It feels
you.
good to me to have an excuse.
Yeah.
But we have got to get out of that habit. We need, our democracy depends on these opportunities to stumble into someone who is not like us, who is not in our circle, who we don't talk to on a daily basis. And we hope the arts can help make that happen in neighborhoods. So this fall, we're taking submissions from the artists and arts organizations. And then in the spring, we're going to have facilitators and coaches who are out in neighborhoods working with the neighborhoods to choose items. And then we'll have the spring and summer to
have a great time.
Have a great time. Have a great
sounds
time.
like so much fun.
Yeah. You know that word fun.
Yeah.
This is the 40th anniversary of the Roanoke Arts Commission.
Man.
And our tagline for this year is celebrating 40 years of progress, art, and fun. So we want to advance the community centered around arts, and we've got to have fun doing it.
Yeah. What's the point otherwise?
Yeah.
That's why we like art, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Move something in us. And a lot of that's for fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so now that you got my brain moving. So in addition to that, some of the other upcoming events or initiatives that you've got planned. So for example, public art installations, any other projects in the works that will enhance our cultural landscape?
Yeah. And I tell you, I've got to appreciate the city council and the way that they work with us. In the past, we have gone to them and said, okay, we're going to do a big sculpture and it's going to be over here and it's going to take us 2 years to get it done, but we're going to put a call out and it's going to go nationally those projects can be terrific. At the same time, we are trying to be responsive and provide structures and pathways to say yes to ideas. So we have this year, I mentioned the Artist in Residence program. We'll have 18 artists in residence working alongside us.
That's amazing. 18, gosh.
And they're terrific and they really range. We've got some who are returning, who are experienced, are still helping us learn. And again, we're building a learning community together. We don't know how. We haven't done any of this before.
The evolution's cool that you kind of like learn as you go in this instance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's fundamental to it. We believe.
Fundamental.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
But we have to be, we don't know it. We don't know the answers. None of us do. Yeah. We put on a facade like we know the answers, and that prohibits us from asking the questions and being curious. And so when we have these returning artists in residence are helping us learn, we're also going to have emerging artists in residence. Some of those emerging artists in residence are names we know that are people who have been out as a working artist for decades, but haven't done community-based art.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So we've got a great mix of people.
Yeah, when you say new, it almost like, oh, a new artist, period, full stop. But like, they could be doing this for many, many years and you just haven't seen their work out in public yet. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah. And community art is not for everyone. Some artists want to be in their studio painting or whatnot and then selling it. But for those who do have the interest, I think it's really important to consider that might be an additional revenue stream for the artist. It could connect them in the community. It could build audience. And
checking a lot of boxes there.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like, why not?
yeah, exactly. So I feel like as we step into this year, we're going to end up seeing some things happen really quickly that we didn't know about. One part of that Artist in Residence program is that we're going to have 2 muralists in residence. And those muralists in residence are not going to be putting paint on walls necessarily, or mosaics on walls, or whatever the form is, but they're going to be helping us catalyze more projects faster, matching artists with walls. Again, I don't want to be a bottleneck.
Yeah.
I'm a part-time staff person, and if we want to get projects happening faster, we've got to do it in some other way. And so we've got a budget set aside for murals and for art on private property. We've got people who are contacting us and saying, "Hey, I've got a wall in my building. What about this? Or what about this bridge over there?"
Cool. Are you getting more calls than ever about murals?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, everybody gets murals now.
No, that's cool. Yeah. So actually, we have a Jon Murrill here in our third segment later today, and so we're really excited to talk about that. Sean Nolan did a great photo essay on just a few of the murals, just because we had 4 pages. Like, how are you going to fit everything into 4 pages? There's so many beautiful ones. So I think it's really interesting that it's almost like, it's not trendy because it's definitely evergreen. You can see this going on forever. But like, now that people are seeing murals everywhere, they want their own. And I love it because it's so much color and life and vibrancy.
Oh, I love it. And nobody needs the city to do a mural. Really, private property owner, they want to paint an art mural on the wall. They don't need to do anything with the city. They can just do it. But we're happy to help if we can, help identify artists, certainly help celebrate the murals. Jon, he mentioned, is one of our muralists.
I was going to ask because that loops in nicely.
There are two, and they're both fantastic. So Jon Murrill and then Katrina Liggins. And she's doing some interior murals right now.
Great.
She's fantastic. She painted two of the letters on the End Racism Now mural.
Cool. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that you can still go down the street and see like the remnants. I mean, I know it's been a few years now, but like to know that it was there and what it was and represented, that was really cool.
I tell you, I'm glad that came up in our conversation because I do think that was a really profound experience for the city.
It almost feels like a launching point for like a whole nother type of discussion. Again, maybe going back to the equity, maybe going back to putting your emotions on the street, on the art. Like that was really, it kind of brought the community together in a way that I don't know if we anticipated.
No, it completely did. And that, the city, you talk about community engagement and such, but that was turning space over, which felt very, very different, I think. And that, that whole time was not without risk. It was a super hot day.
Yeah.
We were trying to get people to drink water. There was the pandemic still happening.
Sure,
we're trying to
thing,
separate. You feel the responsibility, when you have people to come in together.
Yeah, you're responsible for all these people out in the street right now.
And there's a team, Allie Jones in particular, who really helped coordinate that. She's over at Roanoke College now. She's just fantastic.
The camaraderie looked pretty amazing that day. Like
it was.
And the pictures, you can still see everybody's joy and interest and they're having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
tell you another aspect of that. We had, Humble Hustle was the fiscal agent for that. And they were able, because we kind of, did an agreement with them, we didn't go through this procurement process. There's this public procurement process that you have to go through when you do an art call often. We've been, or at least the reading of it here in Roanoke has been very conservative over the years. So we would put an art call out, and the people who were comfortable going through this bureaucratic process and applying, like a vendor would be able to compete. Not everybody is comfortable with that process. So while the procurement laws are to create as fair a playing field as possible, it ended up working a little bit differently, I think. And so at that same time that we did the End Racism Now mural, we did the stormwater murals. And we had, one batch of artists were largely Black. We had one batch of artists that were all white. The people who applied for the storm mural, and it's always been an effort, and we do outreach. We encourage artists to apply. We really wanted a diverse group of artists. But that procurement process, I do believe, was a barrier in getting a diverse candidate pool. So that really was a turning point this way for us, thinking about, okay, now how else can we do it? How do we build relationships with artists, prioritize the relationship with artists, make it as broad and open and welcoming as possible, and pay the artist, and find a way to do it that works within procurement laws, but is more effective.
Yeah. So, Doug, thank you so much for telling us more about what you do and your role in playing the arts and culture in our community. We appreciate everything you're doing. So, you as a citizen, let's talk about you for just one more second. Where are you loving to go, play, eat, do in our region? Because I know you're a bike rider. You bike everywhere.
I do.
Where's your final, where you ended up?
I often end up on the Greenway, and there are a couple of places to get ice cream on the Greenway.
Well, obviously, the perfect way to spend it.
Yeah, that's a great aspect for the summer. And then, of course, the farmers market. I love, I live over by the Grandin Market, and I love being there on Saturdays. I do think that, and you mentioned bubble earlier. I can be in my own little bubble.
Yeah,
and
totally
I try to very intentionally get out of that bubble and try other neighborhoods. I think that's one thing we can really do in Roanoke is intentionally shop in other neighborhoods and get out in different ways. And I was flipping through the magazine this month, and I was like, oh, I need to get out to Lamplighter Mall for some Vietnamese food.
Yeah, you do. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go over there and try that.
Yeah,
I haven't been there, but I cannot wait.
I love a little banh mi.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Williamson Road is like one of my favorite spots because you can stop at anywhere and get an incredible meal.
Yeah,
I love it over there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And there's an artist who's done a rendering for a mural potentially on Williamson Road that celebrates that food culture. I think it's something that we should be super proud of. Val Brown and Williamson Road Area Business Association are doing a terrific job. And yeah, I could just eat my way right along that road.
Me too. I guess I need to get on a bike too. So in thinking about fostering that community engagement, so where can they learn more? We're going to put that up on our website. We're going to make sure to list it where they can get a hold of you. Maybe not in your DMs, your direct email, but we'll make sure to point them in the right direction. But where can they learn more?
Yeah. Certainly at the city's website is one place, but we also have a dedicated website for arts, and it's roanokearts.org.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being our guest on From Print to Podcast. Really appreciate your time and everything that you're doing to help promote the arts and culture in our community.
Well, thank you for all you're doing. You know, I'm a fan of the Roanoke.
Well, thanks.
And honestly, local media is a critical community building tool, and you are doing the work.
Well,
so thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, and thank you, listeners and readers, for going out and seeing some public art this summer and this fall. So you can be sure, of course, to read more about our arts and culture community, including our State of the Arts and Equity and Local Programs features, along with so much more in our September-October issue on newsstands now, or you can always read more at theroanoker.com.